Alright team, today we are talking about knives, and in particular survival knives. I had a gentleman message me a few weeks ago on social media and ask what I look for when choosing a good survival knife. What are some of the good traits? So stick with us, we're going to go for a drive, do a bit of gear testing, and I'll show you what I really look for when choosing a great survival knife. Alright, as we all know, different knives are designed for different intended purposes. You have larger blades designed for processing wood and chopping. You have tactical blades, hunting design knives for hunting, skinning and processing game, and also smaller knives that have their job is for finesse, basically small cuts, precision cuts, skinning, a great skinning knife, feather stick making notches or snares. But there's also this idea of a knife called a survival knife, and it leads us to our next question of what is a good survival knife and what is it for? Essentially, a survival knife is a one-tool option you can use in a survival situation. It's a knife that's a jack of all trades, a master of none, but a knife that is good at many and different purposes. So what we've done is we've come out here and we've bought a range of knives from home. Some we use in the field on our adventures, and some knives that we use on our courses. And what I wanted to do was visually sort of show you so you can see the different range and different spectrum of knives, so you can see what makes a good survival knife and what doesn't so much. So traditionally, survival knives across the frontier, or knives of that intended purpose, were between the 5 and 7 inch range. That is the range that they felt they worked their best and offered the greatest benefits, basically. So what do I personally look for in a survival knife? Well, it's got to have a few requirements. The first one is it's got to be a full tank construction. The difference between a folding knife and a fixed blade knife is this joint in the folding knife, basically. They're convenient, they fold, they're compactable, but under extreme duress, which a survival knife may be, this joint here is going to create a very good weak spot. A fixed blade knife is essentially a full piece of steel that runs from the tip all the way through to the butt. The second requirement is it's got to be a certain weight and a certain length. Because you're creating a knife that's going to be designed or used for different tasks, it's got to be able to fill those tasks. So a knife such as the Ontario Rat 3, essentially it's too light. It's great for fine tasks, but it's not great for chopping, for example. That's why I like to choose a knife personally within the 5 to 7 inch range mark. Some people might like smaller. I personally gravitate towards a larger knife. When it comes to choosing a good survival knife, you've also got to decide what it's going to do, what's its intended purpose. If you live in a desert, if you live in an urban environment, if you live in an alpine cold climate environment, all those sort of factors are going to change and decide the outcome of that knife that you choose, basically. Like I said, I prefer a larger knife between the 5 and 7 inch range mark, for the reason that I can find a larger knife can do the tasks of a smaller knife well, but a smaller knife really struggles to do the tasks of a larger knife, if that makes sense. The third requirement for me personally is it's got to be of a certain steel. Some of these knives here, they're great designs, but they have a low quality steel. Now what that means is the edge dulls very quickly. It doesn't hold an edge very well. If you're using a knife for a survival knife, it also implies that you may be needing to rely on that knife in a disaster situation for a prolonged period of time. For me, I want a knife or a type of steel that I can trust in terms of its strength, but also one that I know is going to hold an edge for a long time, so I don't have to sharpen it. Having a dull knife in a survival situation is far from what we need. So types of steel I choose for: 1095 01 tool steel, moving up to the CPM 3V VG1, for example. The medium grade steels, they hold an edge well, but they also sharpen very fast, whereas the higher end steels like the CPM 3V, they hold an edge very well, but they're also a lot harder to sharpen in the field. So like I said, I bought a range of our knives from home. Some we use in the field, some are on courses and other trips. So you can visually see the knife, a few tasks we're going to do with it, and you sort of see the flaws and also the strengths each knife have in relation to a survival knife. So first off, we have an Ontario Rat 3. It's a 3 1/4 inch knife, full tank construction. For finer tasks, it's wonderful. It's one of my favorite knives for fine cutting, carving. But as you can see, it wouldn't be wonderful for chopping, splitting wood, other things like that. So that's, for a survival knife, this would be far from my first pick. This is a basic Gerber hunting knife. Again, it's a wonderful design. I like Gerber knives in the fact that they put a lot of thought into their blade design and also their handle ergonomics. I really enjoyed the comfort of this knife around camp. But again, it's a low-grade steel of 420C high carbon steel. And again, it hasn't got a particularly thick spine. So in a survival situation, this would not be one that I would want to count my life on, basically. Moving up, this is more what I would consider getting in the depths of a survival knife. This is a Gerber Strong Arm, which is a very iconic knife in the tactical survival arena, if you like. Full tank construction, simple drop point, pommel on the back. Again, it's a wonderful knife, very strong steel. Problem is, again, 420C high carbon steel. It's gonna dull fairly quickly. So again, in a survival situation, this is not one that I want to count on, basically. This is an SE5, which most of you will know. It's again a very iconic knife in the tactical / survival bushcraft world. 1095 high carbon steel, 1/4 inch thick, full tank construction, micarta handle scales. This for me is what I really consider a true survival knife. It's got weight, it's got chopping ability, but it can also provide some fine cutting tusks as well. This is something of a new knife for me, but one I've really enjoyed, something you can really count on. Now this is my Cold Steel Recon Scout. Now again, this is a very iconic knife, designed more for tactical purposes rather than survival purposes. Big Bowie clip with the swedge, full tank construction, SK5 steel, and again 1/4 inch thick, so that sort of for me fits all my bills. This is a 7.5 inch blade, one that I've used on many adventures, one that I trust heavily. It's also got the characteristics and lineage of a fighting knife, similar to the Combat Marine knife, but I've used this on many trips, one I trust very heavily, and this for me, in terms of where I live, the climates I live and the requirements I have of my survival knives, this would be probably my favorite pick by far. Moving up again, this is a Cold Steel Trailmaster, which is the bigger brother of the Recon Scout. 9.5 inch blade, big Bowie swedge and clip there. Again, it's designed as a survival tactical knife. For chopping purposes, this is by far my favorite knife and choice. Very similar design to the Ontario RTAC 2, to the SE Honglis, or the Becker BK9. 01 tool steel, so this is by far one of my higher end steels in terms of survival knives. Hold an edge very well, not as great as a CPM 3V or a VG1 for example, but it's a damn sight easy to sharpen in the field. So that's why I sort of chose this knife for that purpose. This is a survival knife I'll take out on winter trips, for example. This is my sort of winter months knife, for the reason that I can process wood, and also for where we live, fire making, fire processing, and also shelter building is our main sort of concern in this alpine cold climate environment. Whereas in the 3 seasons, summer, autumn, spring, I would gravitate more towards the 5 or 7 inch range, purely because my wood processing needs are slightly less, if you like. My Cold Steel Trailmaster really kicks in the colder months. It's the one I use as the one tool option when we go on hikes, trips, adventures or camping over winter, just for its ability to process and chop wood. Best friend. So again, just to really summarize what I personally look for in a knife, and to answer that gentleman's questions and the purpose of this video, a survival knife is a knife that's a jack of all trades. It's a one tool option that you can take out of the woods or in an urban environment, and a knife that's going to fit all your requirements. The 3 main things I look for when choosing a good survival knife is, first, it's got to be full tank construction. Second one, it's got to be of a certain length and weight, as I said with the SE5 or the Cold Steel Recon Scout. And thirdly, it's got to be of a certain grade steel, for the reason that I don't want to have to keep on sharpening it like some of the lower grade Gerber steels. So the steels I really choose for this purpose are 1095, 01 tool steel, or in the higher end knives, CPM 3V or VG1 for example. So I hope that provides some insight into some of these tools and also my perspective on them. Thank you for watching, sharing, and I'll see you next time.
Are you helping?